We are in Chicago. I don't know if I want to be here, but I'm happy that I'm here. Does that make sense?
Apparently, we're live as well.
Well,
So.
yeah, there's that. Welcome. We have a guest here today, Zach
Wilson.
Zach Wilson. And we're going to
I
have
like being addressed as Mr. Wilson.
Mr.
JD.
Wilson. I will do that. So we're going to do a fun thing here. I don't know if you knew this or not, Zach, but you are the very first inaugural member of the ThermoGrid podcast. Congratulations.
I did not know that, but I'm honored to be here. Very, very honored.
And what that means is there's not that many followers yet. All right? So we really could just have a little bit
Translation,
of fun.
0.
0 to... No, we could like 100. They're all ECI employees, but it's okay. We're working on it. All right. So I thought we would start off.
You got to start somewhere, JD.
Well, you do. And I think the biggest AHRI show in the world is probably the best place to kick it off. What, 50,000 people?
Note to everybody that knows anything about this show, we are not at the official podcast booth because we're so like 10th tier.
Right? Like Podcast Village is for overachievers. Real men do it in their booth. I'm just
Real men do it in their booth.
This is where we do podcasts. So Zach, thank you so much for sitting down with me. You gave me the opportunity to do your podcast a little while ago, and I just found kind of what you do really fascinating. You're very much into the marketing for HVAC companies, and so I just wanted to get your feedback a little bit on kind of what that market's doing right now, because I feel like marketing is more important than ever.
Yeah. I mean, that's so. Just quickly, I'm Zach Wilson, the Chief Marketing Officer at Lokal. Lokal is digital marketing for contractors. We focus on HVAC, roofers, garage, and and really one of our big pain points we're trying to solve for contractors is transparency.
Right.
So we are trying to help them understand what they're getting when they work with an agency, and help them understand what's supposed to happen, because a lot of people, what happens is, you come in and you start working with a consultant or an agency or whatever to help you with your digital marketing, and you're paying them month over month, and then you come to find out that nothing's changed in 2 years, and you just spent 60 grand.
Yeah.
Like, this is great.
All the money went down the tube, right?
Yeah, so it's just kind of a big waste. So we're just trying to help people get educated and understand, number one, what are the baseline things that are supposed to be happening, and understanding some of the economics of what should be coming out of your money, right? So if you're trying to reach certain goals, KPIs, everybody in these industries loves KPIs, so
right.
I'll jump on board KPIs.
Right.
But if your KPIs are, you want to grow 30% year over year, or add 5% to your margins or whatever, what do you actually need to do that?
Right.
Like, what are the material changes that you need to make on the marketing side of things? And in a lot of these businesses, there's so many things that need to be addressed and can help be addressed. And we're, on the marketing side, we're just trying to focus on, like, if you want to get 30% growth year over year, what is that going to take, just from a spend perspective,
Sure,
an investment perspective? Because some people are just like, well, I want to grow, 2x this year, and I want to spend, $10,000 on marketing, or whatever. And it's like, well, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Like the industry is just way too competitive, from trying to recruit new customers, and you have to spend money to make money.
Right. So the big debate is always, for every heating and air guy that I've ever worked with, do we go print? Do we do billboards? Do we do radio? How do you tailor your approach to that?
Yeah, that's a great question because I think that number one, we're digital, so we just focus on digital channels, but those are important channels for any local business, and most importantly, the contractors, HVAC and others, because it depends. Well, not because it depends on where you're at in your growth arc, right? Like if we're looking at a somewhat of a new company, a couple million in revenue, and they're trying to they're trying to expand from their hometown or their primary location to adjacent towns,
Right.
or and expand their footprint. These are things that are, from an awareness standpoint, that you have to layer on to build brand equity and get people just to recognize who you are. So it's an important strategy. If you're if you're just starting off and you're just trying to get your phone to ring, like don't go out and spend $5,000 a
Right.
month on a billboard. Like
Yeah.
that's not a good use of money. Put that money into a flyer flyers could be good, right?
Yep.
Flyers could be good in terms of traditional, but put that money where where you're working on actual lead gen and not like an awareness, more top of the funnel sort of strategies.
Sure.
So yeah, I mean it just depends. And I mean, here we've talked to a bunch of people that are good sized companies that are 10, 20 million. They're like, we don't do any marketing, and to that
Word of
I
mouth.
say, yeah,
The answer is always word of mouth, right?
yeah, and it's it's like, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That you've done that, and like and if like continue to grow or whatever, if that's that can work. It's but then my rebuttal is like, imagine the possibilities if
Right.
you did layer on some sort of strategy to your marketing to try and strengthen your brand. It's like, well, we have a 20-30% market share in our these 3 service areas or whatever. It's like, and you haven't run a single ad.
Just
like,
think about
like-
where it could go.
Right. I mean, and that's like, you're a $10-15 million company. You don't have a single billboard, and you have 20-30% market share. Like, imagine the brand equity that you can build by trying to build some billboards and build some awareness and
Yeah.
build some brand. So it does a lot for you, and you definitely need to be thoughtful about it, and strategic about it, because it's not a one size fits all solution. I've heard many companies, all they've ever done is flyers, and that's what they do, and that's what
Right.
they do well. Others, billboards, other digital, and some, all of the above. So it depends. And what we try and bring to the table for people is, well, if you've never done marketing, we don't know what's going to work, right? Like, every
Right.
community is a little different. What are you working with? The one percenters, or the bottom percenters, right?
Right.
Like yesterday,
Yeah.
yesterday we met someone that literally they do all their work for people
Pretty
that
much.
can't
Yep.
can't pay for anything,
Right.
right? So
Right.
it's
And
like,
that's exactly right.
yeah,
I think you keyed in on something very important there when you were talking about brand, and my recommendation has always been, right. So you have a young guy starting out a company, and he decides he's selling X, and I'm not going to name names, but they sell X product brand, and then product brand, that territory manager, and I was one for 12 and a half years. I know how this works. You see an opportunity as a territory manager to get your brand on that truck, and you get more advertising, and you're going to sign up more dealers. However, that might not be what's best for the contractor. And my advice has always been, market your brand. It doesn't matter what equipment you
Right.
sell, right? Because within flick of, what did the guy say? A flick of a louse's liver, right? You can have this manufacturer have a massive coil recall, and all of a sudden you look really stupid because you have that all over your trucks, right? And so it was always,
Yeah.
and I do know that the marketing guys give a percentage. You buy from us, we'll give you some in marketing, and that's fine. But there's got to be smarter ways to use that money than plastering it all over everything you have, right? Market your brand, and I think that's always been the message that's best for the contractor.
Right. Right.
So I think brand awareness is actually a really big thing, and even if it's word of mouth, brand awareness, man,
Right.
it's always a big thing.
Yeah.
So what do you see upcoming in this year? What do you think is going to be a game changer in 2024? I think we are, right? Is it 20? Yeah, I think it's 2024.
Yeah. A game changer in 2024. Well, I think the start with the baseline things that aren't changing, and that's layering on paid, right? So right now we're in the state for local search online. That is the composition of a local search. Yeah, AC repair near me, right? Furnace repair near me is Google is local service ad, local pack, paid ads, right? So this is paid / organic, paid. These are what a lot of people call the toll booth.
Right.
Right. If you're not paying to play up there, you're missing out on huge opportunities.
Okay.
Right. So if you're a local contractor in a local service business, like, just suck it up and get in the game because you're missing out on opportunities. And
do you guys do pay when you do a campaign like that? Do you normally do consulting as far as seasonality with that? Like we have, some seasons we spend more pay per click, right, because it's slower or that type of thing.
Well, what our seasonality usually the variance there is services, right? So HVAC, you've got these tide of services. If you're doing just AC stuff, it depends on your region, right? Like down in the Carolinas, your summer is going to start in what, like,
Man, we normally start heating up in April.
Yeah.
April's a good time frame.
Stop heating is
Yep.
Stop heating in April. Mid to southern Florida.
In March.
Almost all year.
Right.
We have some clients down there that are just AC all year, and they just don't do anything. They don't do any heat. So, and then you go up to Michigan and Minnesota and Ohio, Chicago, and where I lived here in Chicago for 20 years. I mean, we ran our heat until May sometimes.
Yeah.
Right.
So it just depends how you build that strategy. Is really your seasonality.
Right. And your partner needs to be privy to your location and when those dates occur, because that's when those things need to shift.
Right.
So but back to what I think is what is important for 2024, I think, is there's a lot of AI coming into play, and I think that there are some opportunities there, because I know consumers are starting to dabble more and more with ChatGPT, for example. So plays there, these are again on like SEO, content marketing, plays there are definitely in play. And I think that people, I think, maybe we were talking about this or talking about someone else, is that, like, you can't forget about, if you're a contractor, you can't forget about your neighborhood, right? Like, make those deals with the church, in the church bulletin, make those deals with the high school,
use sports teams,
use rugby, right? Like, sponsor the rugby thing. Like, you got to get into those things, and those things are generally, like, really, really inexpensive for what you do. They're gold, and that's your audience, right? Like, spend, I'm just making up a number, but people are like, oh, it's so expensive or whatever. Like, if let's just do the math here. Let's just say you're small HVAC company, $2 million, right? And in theory, your marketing budget should be, let's just say 5% for easy math, right? 5% of 2 million is 100 grand,
Okay.
right, across all channels.
Yeah.
Earmark 10 grand, right? $10,000, and just say, I'm going to spend this $10,000 100% local,
Right.
in traditional, right? The baseball field. I want to
Right.
put my logo out there. The PTO, the Rotary Club, the church, the whatever else there is, the rugby team, and go out and do that. And number one, I bet those things are really, really poorly managed.
Oh yeah.
So that 10 grand will probably, like, before they hit you up for more money, will probably go a couple years.
Quite a ways.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're really poor. Like, it takes a lot of effort for them to get your logo and,
Well, see, for us,
like,
I
the
know,
scoreboard of the baseball field, right?
I told you before, I coach high school team, and like we don't change jerseys, but once every 2 or 3 years. So that logo on the back of the jersey.
Oh, do they do it?
Oh yeah.
They
I mean,
do?
we
Oh,
put the
'cause it's
logos.
rugby.
Yeah,
Rugby's
we put
big logo.
yeah, and so
yeah.
we put the logos on, and it's a good advertising for
great
2 to
idea
3
too,
years.
yeah.
And it's a great opportunity.
But those are, I mean, these are things that really, you as the contractor, or you as the business owner, or whoever it is, depending on your structure, like, you've got to do those
Yeah.
things, really.
You got to go find it.
You've got to, you know the people, you know the relationships. I've talked to some people that are, maybe on the bigger, and they have like a regional sales structure, or service area sales structure, or something like that. So if you're, let's just take, I don't know, Chicago, since we're here, and you're in Chicago and you're a big company and you've got salespeople, in each of the suburbs or whatever. Well, and those people all live in those suburbs. Then you've got to allocate, like, give each one of your sales people 10 grand,
Right.
and have them go to their community and put
the
those
money to
marks, put those money to work, because you as a business owner, if you're big, you're 10 million, 20 million, or whatever, you're going to have 30 to 70 employees, right?
Yep.
And you can't be in all those communities.
No, you can't.
And so you've got to rely on your team. And I think the most important thing is you've got to create a framework for you to succeed and for them to succeed. And lastly, you have to be willing to pony up the money,
Right.
Like, let's just say, going back to that example, maybe Chicago high schools might ask for a little bit more money, but
Okay. Right.
I don't know,
Right.
big city, but you're spending, earmark 100 grand or something for 10 different neighborhoods. It's like, it's gonna get you some serious legs.
Right.
Get you some serious legs. So, in summary, for 2024, don't be afraid to get local, get in the trenches, and invest back to just traditional impressions.
So we had about 10 minutes left, and I want to dig into something that probably needs more than 10 minutes. So this might be a follow-up visit. But something that I know when I was in the contracting side was always a big question mark is websites, right? So it's so important, man. It's a first impression and then you talk to a contractor and he's just strapped for money and he jumps on Wix or whatever it's called, and he puts some WordPress thing together and it's just not what it needs to be. You guys, do you do websites? Do you build websites?
Yeah, and I mean, I would agree that they're very important. Speed is important until it's not, right? Like, for these businesses, you need something that's going to load, pretty snappy,
quick, right?
Not have take 30 seconds, because nobody's waiting 30 seconds,
Right?
So that's number one. Number two is, you need to pull through. You need to pull through your branding. It needs to, be clean, professional, and look like you have your together. Like,
What helps a website perform better? Does videos, does blogs? Because I know for a long time there that the talk track was you need to blog all the time, but I'm of the opinion, because I get asked to write a lot of blogs, I don't know how many people read them anymore. In this
Yeah,
TikTok world, do we really still read blogs?
no. I mean, it. Yeah, so it depends on the strategy, right? So I'm not I'm not a huge fan of blogging for local service businesses. I think that it can be layered on, but I think that the more important and impactful area of emphasis are your service area pages.
Right.
That's ultimately what's going to get you um, local uh, local sort of visibility in terms of the Google search result, not if you're a national company, yes, maybe even a massive regional company, yes, it's going to be important because you've got these sort of um, top of the funnel searches, like and DIYers that might help. But like you're not going to get you're not you're it's unlikely that you're going to get visibility, organic visibility in Chicago for something that's like how to fix my AC, because you're going to be competing with like um, if I'm looking for like AC repair in Chicago, for example, like that's you're going to be competing with like major sites like Angie's List and Thumbtacks that
Right.
um, have all this domain authority and presence, and they build these everyone's been to them, these sort of like just these landing pages that are top 10
Right.
best HVAC providers, and they curate them and they make them up, and or maybe they make you pay to be on that page or whatever, and that's the type of stuff that's gonna get that placement. But from an organic perspective, the holy grail, holy grail is really that like uh, that local pack that I talked about earlier in maps, um, and that's what you're working on, and that goes back to the some of those traditional things that I talked about, which are making those deals, and you can work with your agency to if you're doing a deal for, again, the high school, or maybe even a bakery that's got big presence or whatever, you want to build local link authority, right?
Right.
So, put a testimony, make a deal with a bakery, and put a testimonial, and tell them, yeah, okay, well, link to my business page or whatever, and your agency can help you with that stuff. But those things, that's what's ultimately going to build this. If you've heard this nice graph, if you will, of, well, I'm in Chicago, and in Chicago, all of these people link to me in this authoritative way to build my local authority in this
Right.
locale, and that's ultimately what's going to help you. I mean, that said, you can't have no content on your site.
You have to have
You,
some,
you
right?
have to have some. You do need content, and at the end of the day, um, putting yourself in the position of an expert, an authority, and being trustworthy, that's the magic formula, if you will, for Google. And so there's all these conversations of what how do you build expertise in the local realm, and
Right.
there's a ton of debates, but the long and short of it is that nobody's going to their even if they know, they're great friends with their like HVAC provider in their town. Like, I'm not going there to look at how, if my AC is making a clicking noise, what does that mean, right?
Right.
You're going to TikTok or YouTube or
That's
whatever.
right.
So
And do you recommend contractors be on all those social media, the YouTube, the TikTok? I feel
it's
like it's a
tough.
positive thing.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I think at the end of the day, it's definitely something that I think that the business, and it's a growth stage, right? Like,
Right.
where are you? What are you trying to do? Are you gonna build a ton of um, are you going to get a ton of leads by having, a great YouTube account? No.
Right.
Right. Like, no, or a great Facebook page. Maybe, again, like leaning into that local element with Facebook, there might be something there. But at the end of the day, I think the real like high intent searches, the bottom of the funnel where someone's calling because they have a problem and they need it fixed. Those things are still taking place on Google at the end of the day. And all the TikTok videos in the world of your dispatch team dancing and your your CSRs doing quirky stuff, like, yeah, it's fun, it's good for marketing, and it's good fodder, but that's not gonna drive someone to
it's not driving sales.
Yeah, it's not going to be someone driving someone to calling you locally. Like, even if you do get a massive following, whatever, on TikTok, and someone searches, going back to the, like, my heater is clicking or whatever, you search that on TikTok, like, you're not going to get a local result.
Well, it's a worldwide result.
Right.
Everybody wants to make sure they can figure out how to fix the thing without calling the heating and air.
So
it's a double-edged sword.
Right. That's where you get into this DIY thing. But so going back to different strategies, could you do a DIY, like, knowledge center on your site with all of these different solutions, and like, that would be a great SEO play.
Sure.
That could be great for local customers too, and then you start pulling that through to your newsletter, right? And then all of a sudden, newsletters are still, I still read all my newsletters, right? Like, and if I'm getting a deal from my maintenance deal or repair deal from any of my service home service providers, like, that makes me think about them, right?
Sure.
So I think that's still a very underused channel in the home services, and people could build a lot of brand strength and loyalty through email, for sure.
Well, talking about being internet famous, I don't know if you've noticed while we were sitting here chatting, how many people were taking pictures of us doing a podcast.
I did not.
So, Zach, quickly tell people where they can find you.
Yeah, so we're Instagram at Local HQ, TikTok at Local HQ, and go there for marketing tips to help improve your contractor business.
Buddy, thank you so much for sitting down with me. It was an absolute pleasure. And it's actually a lot more fun than it looks like, and that's what's scary. I could sit and talk to people all day long.
I know. You should just start interviewing people.
Well,
just sit down for 5 minutes. You build a nice collection of material.
I think we're going to try to start
doing
with
this Trolls music in the background.
Trolls, this is awesome, dude. This is the playlist I use because actually on the side, when the rugby teams play, the high school teams, I actually do the play-by-play.
Oh yeah.
And this is my rugby play-by-play music. Don't you like it?
Yeah,
I like it. It's pretty cool. It's royalty free.
Yeah.
So as long as I mention them.
Isn't that a troll?
It's a troll playing a guitar. Yeah. What's wrong with that?
Reminds me of the movies.
That's right. Zach, thank you again.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Gigi.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Take care.
All right. So we're signing off here from Chicago. We will obviously be a lot more podcasting that's coming up for us now that we've kicked it off. But our next on the road event will be in, I think we're going to Phoenix, Arizona for the SBE conference. So we're pretty excited about that. So we will see you guys soon. Signing off from a wet, snowy, and cold Chicago. All right, guys.